welcome to Mean on Mondays, episode 15. I'm Christina.
Quite the fanfare.
I'm doing choreography today.
Awesome.
We're at episode 15. I'm Christina.
And I am still Joe.
Oh.
Take 457.
Mm-hmm. Now, everyone knows who everyone is.
Nice to meet you all.
Thanks to me. In episode 15, the question we ask is it really all about you? Being you, or being part of a team, you need to know how to be both.
Agreed. And if you know us or know our work at all, either in person or via the interwebs, you'll know that we're huge champions and advocates of the Be You philosophy, specifically Be You in More Than a Whisper. The reason that we're such loud voices about this is we're currently in a dance world and a world where there's a whole bunch of, specifically there's social media, and there's so many opportunities to compare yourself to others. And with that comparison to others comes expectations that you need to be, do, look, or feel like somebody else in order to be good enough, in order to be valid. And so we're particularly loud with our voices that say, no, go ahead and be you in More Than a Whisper. Because what will the world start to look like if we all want to be the same? But there's an interesting flip side that kind of comes up as part of this this self-focused, any social media outlet that you look at, specifically if we talk that, is very self-focused.
Right.
And there's an interesting flip side that happens.
I totally agree with you. It's fantastic to be self-focused, self-motivated, really hone in on your own growth and focused in that way. But
and be responsible for it.
Totally. But it's not great when it's got to be the you show, or if it doesn't go your way, then it's not valid. So
making it all about you.
Right. When you're part of a team, I feel like in today's society, especially, we put such a huge weight on that starring
emphasis.
Role. Oh my gosh, the starring role, the featured dancer, and a lot of people feel like, or they get this mindset that if they're not the star, then they're not learning anything, they're not going anywhere, and there's nothing in it for them. That people believe, it's fact, that if they don't get that starring role, then somehow they're they're playing second to what they could have been, and you're waiting for that moment to be that soloist to validate
and there's somehow,
who you really are.
Sorry, and there's somehow less value
Yeah.
to being part of a team than there is being a featured soloist.
Think about like an orchestra. Yeah, there's the first chair up there, playing, leading the crew of first violins, and there's a first trumpet, and there's there's everybody. But if you just have that one, they can't make the sound of everybody. They rely on everyone. It's like any song you hear. It's not just one instrument. I mean, it may be one computerized track at this point, but there's multiple things. There's multiple layers that goes into that, including the person's voice, who is a star, right?
They contribute to the texture and the fabric, and every single one of those parts is equally as important. And in some tracks, for some, for some albums, they'll feature the guitar, but in the next track, it's about the drums. But if the drums gave up because the guitar got featured, they'll never have that moment. And if they only want to play on the tracks where the drums play the lead, they're missing the opportunity, the collaborative community, collective opportunity to learn what it is to share and create something that's beautiful and let it be a common shared experience. Yep. And I think the healthiest head you can have on your shoulders about being a star featured artist, having a solo role in anything, is not letting that define you, because those moments are going to come and go. For the actors that grace our screens and who are headline for a movie, then they might play a supporting role in the next movie, or not even get cast in the next one if they're only defining themselves by the moments when their name's at the top of the bill, their name's at the top of the program. Right. There are going to be a lot of really super tough times, and if they only think that they're learning something when their name's the one in flashing lights, then there's missing so much more that there is to be learned from being part of a team. And your energy, who you are, is not diminished by lending your energy to a group dynamic.
Absolutely. And I think when you can stop your mind from saying, I'm not as good because I'm not the soloist, let's just say in a dance class setting, because I know a lot of teachers will appreciate this. When you can focus on, I'm not as good because I didn't get the solo, and you can just focus on what you are good at, supporting your team and really saying, oh wow, good for you, you got that solo. Keep focused on yourself, positivity. There's going to come a time when you get the role, or that you're better at something and you get that feature, and everyone will then support you and it will feel good. Now, if you were bitter about all this, I don't think anybody's gonna, either you're not gonna get that role or no one's gonna support you, and that's not gonna feel like, it's not gonna feel like a family then. It's gonna feel like you're kind of gonna be the outcast, but you have done it then to yourself.
And there'll be no joy in the getting and the performing of that solo if all along you couldn't support somebody else when it was their opportunity. And so the thing about dance is it's about community. It's about collaborating. It's about connecting, and it's about sharing. Dance lives in those moments. It's what we dance for, to connect with ourselves, but then also to share that to an audience, to a camera, to share a message, to tell a story, whatever it is. And if we're not doing that behind the scenes, if that's not how we're going about our dance lives outside of those on-stage moments, then those on-stage moments will necessarily be missing something, even when it is a solo, because you won't even know what that connective energy looks like as a human. How could you possibly ever bring it to a solo where you're hoping to connect with an audience?
So it's about two things. First is, when you're not the soloist and you don't get that featured role that you may have thought you deserved, it's about not holding out. So don't only give half of yourself and get half of the growing because you're unwilling to be a team player and give it all.
Unwilling to participate.
Because you're not the one that might be shining, or whatever, shining, we're all shining, but if you're not the one that's featured in that moment, that's number one. And the second thing is about not losing yourself. So whether you are the star or you aren't, still stay, as Joe usually says, eyes on your mat, focus on your mat, being true to yourself and your growth, whether you are the shining star, whether you are the shining ensemble member, whether you're, as we talked about in an orchestra, if you are the drum, you drum away, even though it's about the guitar right now, because your chance will come to be that.
And that in itself is a skill. Developing the ability to be part of a team and either not hold out when it's not all about you, but also not lose yourself to the team dynamic and think, well, I have to look like that soloist right now, because if I didn't get that role, that means that I'm not valid doing what I'm doing. That's a skill. There's a skill to be developed, and it's a skill that we are totally going to talk about in episode 16. And the last thing I want to throw out there is, in a village, it's about being yourself, and it's about working together. It's about that connectedness that we talked about before. We talked about earlier in the episode, and how much beauty and how much growing there is to do in that connectedness, and how much there is to be gained. And it's always interesting to me when you watch somebody get best actor or best actress at, say, the Oscars, and you'll notice that when they get up and accept those awards, they don't say, I'm so amazing, thank you very much.
I did it.
They will say, I'm so excited to accept this. But for the most part, what you hear is this: thank you to these people that supported me in production. Thank you to my co-star who invited me to a place that I couldn't have gone on my own. Thank you to the team of people. Thank you to my family who've supported me in the moments when I didn't get every starring role and I felt like I wasn't good enough, but I showed up and I learned to hone my craft. I learned so much more about what I could become. I was inspired by what I saw around me. They'll talk about the makeup artists who gave them the potential to play a character that they couldn't find just inside, but something to aspire to by what they created. The directors.
Them really get into their role.
Because what may have happened is they delivered the line, but there were a whole bunch of people behind them getting them over that line to speak those words that they might be accepting that award for on any given day.
That's right.
Right. There you go.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.